People love to say X year is better than Y year when it comes to rap.
2016 was peak, man.
Nah, you weren't there in 2010.
2020 was goated. Also, I'm 7 years old. But does doing that even make sense? Because at the end of the day, the year that means most to you musically is probably linked to something in your personal life. But f all that, 2024 was actually incredible for everyone. We had rap beefs, we had listening parties, we had album rollouts almost, but most importantly, we've had a plethora of incredible hip-hop projects. I was getting worried a little bit a couple years ago. I felt like the art of the album was kind of dying out. At some point in this decade, it felt like every album was just kind of like a collection of singles or a playlist. But 2024 flipped that notion, and I've somehow managed to narrow down my top 10 rap albums of the year. Also, don't worry, the Bzzzt Award show is still coming. I just have to get this out of the way. So here we go. First, let's start with some honorable mentions. I know this was many of yours album of the year, but for me, it's kind of been a pain in the ass to accept the peg. That's what you guys call him, right? But after scaring the hoes last year, and with this album here, which I think is his best solo work so far, I'm beginning to get the hype. Streetz is someone that popped up on my radar just this year. I guess he's like a Griselda adjacent. But even next to solid projects like Mock Homies and Westside Guns, the griminess and the hypnotic feel of this album really stood out to me. Mike is another rapper who A, I'm not completely familiar with, and B, just never really got captivated by him. But something about Tony Seltzer's production made Mike's monotonous flow and voice really get into a groove where I kept coming back to it. Yeah, this is just like a fun album. I had to throw that in there. I saw both Future and Metro Boomin live at Rolling Loud, and the tracks from this album sound incredible while a bunch of drugged up college kids are elbowing me. Also, my most played song of the year was from this album, so it deserves a shout. And now let's get into the What's the Buzz top 10 albums of 2024. Number 10. Cordae, The Crossroads. I think people get on Cordae's case a lot for not really going too deep in with his lyrics, while also not really having a strong punchline game to make your eyebrows raise. And yeah, those people are right. Listen, just because this project's in my top 10 doesn't mean I can't criticize it. But Cordae specifically was kind of set up from the beginning. He came to the game with this expectation of becoming like a new hope and a savior in the SoundCloud era, because he was a part of YBN but rapped on boom bap beats. And I think this expectation haunts him to this day, because of course he'll never be the next J. Cole or Chance the Rapper. I felt like he spent the first two projects kind of chasing this expectation because the music really didn't sound too genuine. It's kind of like a kid trying to wear their dad's pants, if that visual makes sense. And some nice tracks and a Grammy nomination aside, I came out of those projects without really knowing who Cordae is until The Crossroads. Although the storytelling isn't that layered, its simplicity allows for vivid pictures to be painted. When Cordae raps about his mother's early ambitions of being a musician, or having a daughter in a very famous relationship, or just his childhood, it's actually captivating for the time being. His ear for beats has always been stellar, and the features he picked on his project are fantastic, specifically Lil Wayne, who bodied both of his features. Oh, of course, and a Kanye feature that's totally not AI enhanced. Hey, I'm just kidding. I know Cordae said it's not AI. Please don't cancel me on Twitter again. Number 9. Vince Staples, Dark Times. In the most respectful way possible, I feel like this is the album that Vince was trying to make since Summertime 06. And I'm not saying his other projects don't have their own identity. I particularly love the experimentation on Big Fish Theory and the topics on Ramona Park. But just in terms of a cohesive project that really sounds like a Vince Staples project through and through. Vince has really mastered this conversational, kind of like one-on-one conversation style of rapping. But much like Cordae, he seems to be at a crossroads. This is his final project for Def Jam, and it did come off pretty soon after his huge Netflix show. So to turn in something this dark and serious was just like an unexpected move from him. It makes me wonder where he's gonna head next. But lines like "it's the power of the human brain, we're just trapped in our dreams" is the bleak and blunt truth I've come to expect from someone like Vince Staples. But it still blindsides me every time. Number 8, Lupe Fiasco, Samurai. There really isn't another rapper who's as effortlessly great as Lupe. Just from like a technical standpoint, combining flow and wordplay and vocal delivery in the way he does is like historical levels of elite. And I'm really happy this album is getting a lot of attention considering how short it is, how low key it is. A lot of the headlines around Samurai were focusing on Lupe claiming this album is a concept album of Amy Winehouse, the singer, becoming a battle rapper, which sounds ridiculous because none of the songs explicitly mention Amy. As far as I'm aware, I think the album is just a layered commentary on the struggles that artists face, attempting to both impact the world with their art and leave a legacy, but also just being a cog in the machine with their main purpose being making a larger corporation a lot of money. It's a slick project, very impressive, leaves a little bittersweet feeling that really reminds you that this whole music thing isn't just fun and games. Number 7, NxWorries. Why, Lord? God damn it, man. This album's like a 10 tender gut punch of sadness and soulfulness. I've been fiending for a solo Anderson .Paak album ever since Silk Sonic, but this definitely scratches the itch. I believe a great songwriter can relay emotions very clearly, and not just one emotion. We're also complex, and the topics he touches on are very layered, but he nails the delivery of them. And Knowledge serves as a great backdrop for all of these emotions. At its core, I'm treating this as Paak's divorce album, and coming from 2016's Yes Lord, I'm like, how did we get here? Number 6, Logic. Ultra 85. Call me a doubter all you want. I did not think Bobby still had it in him. Like, I knew he had it in him, like No Pressure, Vinyl Days, College Park, all great projects, but that factor that makes Logic unique, that's what I thought he lost. And not only did he bring it back, he emphasized it and grew a beautiful project from that seed. I'm talking about the honesty Logic has with himself and the way that gets translated into his music. But since he's been independent, I believe he really struck a nice balance with fan service and making music that means a lot to him. And after teasing Ultra 85 for a better part of a decade, it was heartwarming to see this project come together so well. His flow is great as ever. He opens up on tracks like he's never done before, really bringing tears to my eyes at points. And the sequencing of this album is really underrated. It just brought me back to the bubble of his earliest albums, but with the added experience of his illustrious career. Number 5, Kendrick Lamar, GNX. Despite giving both sides of this year's rap beef a fair shake, I was still called the #1 Kendrick Lamar glazer for enjoying his diss tracks more. I say that to say, upon first and 50th listen, I still think this is Kendrick Lamar's weakest project since he blew up. For me, it really does lack the gravitational pull of his other projects, which usually comes from an overhanging concept or the emotional weight of the album. GNX is just a really nice ode to the West Coast and Kendrick airing out everyone after the insane year he's had. But I've come to appreciate the more low-key moments of this album more. Kendrick's just different, man. One of his weaker projects landing this high on my list is just hilarious. Number 4, Freddie Gibbs, You Only Die Once. This is one of those perfect timing albums. A few months back, I was in my home country for some medical issues, and it was a very stressful time that I usually combat with doing a lot of walking. And as I walk down the familiar streets, I love diving into albums kind of like this Freddie Gibbs one. Jazzy and smooth production that's combined with very aggressive lyrics that always kind of come off as a cautionary tale. I like that he dialed it back a bit from his last album, and on You Only Die Once, he really played within his strengths while adding sharper flows and better choruses. I just think Gibbs is really good at putting his emotion to the pen and really not holding back how he feels, especially on that outro track. Number 3, Denzel Curry, King of the Mischievous South. I love the Denzel Curry formula of dropping a super personal and emotional album and then coming back with a fun mixtape style project to shake it all up. Not a lot of artists can flip back and forth from being braggadocious to vulnerable and make both sound convincing. I think 2 of Denzel's strong suits are really showcased on this project. 1, a reminder that he can make really any type of rap he wants, especially commercial rap. And 2, that he meshes really well with whoever he collaborates with, which isn't easy to do. There's a lot of fucking features on this album. I've also never experienced a mixtape evolving into an album in real time, but yeah, this album's completely carried its strengths from the summertime to the wintertime without no issues, and I think this is my favorite Denzel project after Imperial. Number 2, Tyler the Creator, CHROMAKOPIA. God, picking the #1 spot was impossible. I think CHROMAKOPIA is really a top 3 Tyler project. I was absolutely blown away by Tyler's shift of character here, stripping away most of the ego that he really built up sky high on Call Me If You Get Lost. On CHROMAKOPIA, we get the most honest and open Tyler album since like Wolf, and I stand by my theory that Tyler was inspired by Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers to really look in the mirror and strip that rap ego persona and give us this genuine ass project. You have tear jerkers, social commentary, fun tracks, really a bunch of everything here. And y'all weren't there in 2011 when Tyler first popped off. An album this mature from him was not on the horizon at all. And this leads us to my #1 album of 2024, which is ScHoolboy Q's Blue Lips. I started this video with mentioning how albums and music is connected to personal experiences you're going through, and those are the ones that truly stand out. And in 2024, no album was by my side, kind of like Blue Lips was. March 2024 was a super stressful month, full of those walks I was talking about where I just go out for the whole day basically. And I was listening to this album and just appreciating how clear-minded and confident Q sounds. This album is mostly just the perspective of a man who knows he's blessed and he's trying to keep those blessings as safe as possible. It's kind of a sobering mindset if you think about it. Not just counting your blessings, but also putting yourself in a position for more opportunities to come while also staying yourself. I mean, that's kind of hard to do. I believe that Q defined Blue Lips as being speechless. Perhaps life left him speechless, and the only way he can really express himself is through music. This would check out considering how private of a person he's become. I don't know, but Q's in his top form throughout this whole album, and I'm really upset his Toronto show got canceled. And yeah, that's my top 10. I'd really like to know what your favorite albums were and how they connect connected to you. Just a reminder, I do read every single comment I get, so if you roast me, I probably see it and it does affect me, so be nice. Stay blessed, stay happy, stay healthy. I'll see you guys at the Buzz Awards show, hopefully by the end of the year. Peace. Oh, and happy holidays, yeah.